DOT to have all e-bike, anything with an electric motor, not even bikes, it's scooters, it's wheelchairs, it's anything. It was a terribly worded bill, but to have that have to have a license. But they have no control over the DMV, so it's.
But you know, when there's a license, then there's insurance that follows.
But the bill also
And
didn't,
that also,
the bill also didn't hold any accountability
Yeah.
to
you know, I'm
rideshare apps, like the City Bike. It would not have impacted.
okay. I'm only conveying what was stated, and they wanted me to be at that rally. And, so, you know, they're looking at making money for the city and the state as well, okay? Okay, I'm with for the city, so you know, that's one of the things I look for too. Where can we get money for the city and state, okay? And also safety,
Yeah,
that's it.
right. I mean, when people are thinking about bikes and licensing, it does make you kind of wonder about kids on bikes, because like there are 14-year-olds and 13-year-olds who ride motorized scooters and ride bikes. Are they gonna start paying for insurance? People get bikes so they don't have to pay for insurance.
I think the intention is, I appreciate anyone wanting to have like an honest discussion about how do we make it safe for all of us, right? But I'm always puzzled when people are like, well, this is the idea, and it's like, this has been done in so many cities.
Right.
And every city's rescinded the laws because it's totally ineffective. Like Toronto just recently rescinded it, LA tried it for a while, Houston tried it for a while.
Licensing?
Yeah, it doesn't work. Having a license doesn't make you safer, right? That assumes it's a good, like someone
Unless you
operating a vehicle in good faith,
Well,
right?
if they're gonna revoke your license if you don't operate safely, then.
Yeah, but then you go without a license. People drive without a license, and like,
Right,
the-
but if the consequences are severe enough, like,
I know,
the
but I'm
bike gets
saying-
confiscated if you,
yeah, but
drive
the
without
bike's
license.
It's like
$200,
$200.
it doesn't matter.
Huh?
It's like $200
You
bucks.
get another. People get
Well-
extra cars. Like, I think the intention is
Cars are more
good.
expensive.
Right,
The execution has just not been proven effective anywhere in the world yet. Maybe they'll think of a new way, but this is not a new concept at all. It just has not ever worked.
I
okay.
mean, the way I see it, the goal of it is kind of seen in the game, right? Like equally your responsibility, right?
Right.
Well, but it's responsibility for. I mean, if someone's doing something reckless, they could be detained for that. But if they're operating a bike recklessly, they can be detained. Having a license doesn't require it. Doesn't change that. A cop can pull you over regardless.
I think it has some connection to you when it's licensed, you know. There are ramifications behind the things that you do. You have to register, okay? I mean, look, they're looking at all ways as a deterrent. And if they feel that, the cyclists feel that they have to do an extra thing to, you know, make it so that we're on an even playing field, you know, they would be a little bit more careful. I'll give you an example. I was in a Lyft, and he was driving, like, they had the speed limit for 25, he was doing 20. And the delivery, I believe he was delivering food, he just cut right in front of him. And thank God we wasn't going that fast, because I didn't want to be sitting in the car, you know, the accident and
witness
then,
to-
yes! So, you know, we said to him, you gotta be careful with this. What are you doing? Yeah. Okay, let's keep it going, please. I need to, everybody's safe.
But we talk about engineering, education,
Yeah,
and enforcement.
That's right. He had a
We
motor
have-
car,
and we
a
have-
motor scooter.
Those are already supposed to be
Yes.
licensed, by the way.
They're
Yeah.
supposed to be, right?
Yeah, and this
Right,
bill
so
doesn't
that's
change
already
that.
against the law. Like, this bill does nothing for that. That's
Okay.
already against law.
Okay, he didn't even have a license on his,
I just say we have the 3 E's,
Oh, it-
education, engineering, design, and enforcement. And we've heard time and time again that the police don't enforce parking or moving violations for cars. I doubt that they're going to start getting bikes at a clip that would make this result.
Without,
You know what I mean?
without enforcement of current laws, there's no point
That's
making new laws.
exactly
Right.
Especially
And I
It's
mean,
a joke.
a hit and run is already a crime, but the like rate that they catch the hit and run drivers, it's like single digit percentage. So like, those are the people who are gonna be a jerk on 2 wheels, are gonna be a jerk on 4 wheels. You know, they're like anyone that actually hurts someone by riding a bike recklessly, like I think if they're the one that's also gonna get a license, they're probably gonna stop and also realize, my God, I've done something wrong and hurt somebody. Like, it's not, having a license is, I don't think is gonna keep them at the
Why do you
scene
have-
of the crime.
Well, why do you have licenses for cars then?
Right.
With that argument, say, okay, nobody should have a license to drive a car either.
Right,
Well,
there is a connection to that person.
Well, the difference I think with cars is that just the percentage for damage is much higher.
yes,
First of all.
no insurance company will give you, there's no, like, call Geico, they're not gonna give you insurance for a bicycle, because it's not worth it, the paperwork is not worth it, the system isn't, that's why it fails anywhere.
I mean-
But like a car, you're talking about tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars of physical damage, like lawsuits, you know?
On a motorized bike, you can cause $100,000 of, damage to a person.
Absolutely. My
Yeah,
cousin got
it's-
hit and she had to get stitches in her legs. On one of her legs.
That
And
car
he
should
said,
not cost $100,000.
he said, oh, I'm sorry.
That's a healthcare problem.
That should not cost $100,000, but.
Thank God
But
there's
if
no
you
more than
fracture
that.
your
you know?
skull or, you
Or like-
can have some.
I mean, again, like a sidewalk can cause you to fracture your skull. You can trip
Right.
and fall and break your
And
break your cranium.
that's still a civil
Yeah.
penalty. You can still sue a person. If someone trips you on the street and cracks
Exactly.
your skull, you can still sue them.
Right.
They don't have to have a license to be a pedestrian, so.
That's the other argument here too. Like people don't really get bikes for like long distance, high speed travel like they do for cars. It's
Right.
kind of like a medium between driving a vehicle and walking.
But I
Right.
think that they want to instill this because we're sharing the road. So in sharing it, we have to share responsibilities and what takes place. And stop saying that cars shouldn't be on the road or,
Right.
because this is what they're speaking on. Cars should not be on the
People
road.
aren't saying that.
I'm sorry?
People aren't saying cars should be on the roads, right? That's not the most radical
It's-
thing in
I
the,
know,
in
but
the,
it's
in the
being
discourse.
said, this is why they don't.
I mean, people are saying that like designing a city around cars is
Like,
not
It's,
ideal.
it's,
Right. I mean,
I-
car
I-
ownership
it's
rates have
insane.
gone up.
It's
Also-
an insane notion. I
I-
mean, everyone needs their car.
I
you
would
know,
say that
and-
when we say share the road, what percent of streets in our district have bike lanes on them?
Well, let's just say this.
It's like less than 2%. We're not really sharing the road here.
Well, the
When
concentration
I
is
ride
here.
my bike to get to my apartment, there are no bike lanes to get to the last like 2 blocks of where I live.
Okay.
So I have to
So-
ride with cars, and I don't feel like I'm
But-
sharing. I feel like I'm taking my life in my hands.
But what are we doing here? We're looking at, where to
Whether or not I
put-
have a license
It's like
doesn't
a-
change the
where-
fact that
it's
people
blinding.
speed down
Thank you,
Rogers.
thank
We're
you.
fine, you, Andrew. Give us a second.
Thank you. So what we're doing here is we're making it so that we can indicate how to put bike lanes to make it safe for one another, and in doing so, we're sharing, yes? So we have to share the
Beginning
responsibility. Yes, so we have to share that responsibility and not make it so that, it's the car's fault, it's the driver's fault,
Right.
and I heard you when you said when you walk the street, and you can get sued, okay, that's another liability, but they're walking, so you can hold that person, that's not, if someone is on a bike, how fast can you hold them? Because they're on the sidewalk too, these cyclists, and I'm talking about motor
Also, legal.
operated.
But the most of the motor operated things are already legally, they're supposed to be
Like,
licensed.
they're already regulated.
So this
Okay.
new law
So-
is it's not changing that. But so I think the spirit is right.
I think
I don't think the,
I think the answer is just using enforcement to cut down on the worst things first.
Yeah.
E-bikes on sidewalks probably should be taken care of.
Yeah.
Right? E-bikes doing like stunts in the street, riding rings around drivers,
yeah,
probably
sure.
a bad idea.
Yeah.
And I think that's most of the issues people are seeing. If you could just stop those.
Yeah.
Because I think the anti-bike sentiment spills over into city bikes and regular bikes when they see
of course.
e-bikes doing wildness in the street. I think it's just, can we enforce that? If not, don't even bother with the rest.
It's also, it's hard to know, like from even 5 feet away, it's hard to know, is that an e-bike or not? You don't really know.
Well, I mean,
So-
mopeds in particular too.
Well, but a
Mopeds are the
moped's
worst,
not
the
a
biggest
bike.
offenders. Those are the biggest offenders.
Right, but those are already, there's already the laws for that, so like
I've
you're
seen-
saying,
I've
we
seen
enforce the
people-
laws that we have.
A few people like on this community board get cursed out for telling a moped rider to please don't go on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's crazy.
no, they're on my walk all the time, I know, but, yeah, so I think there's a lot of confusion about what is actually posing the problem. But there is a problem, for sure.
Yeah, I think the beginning is just enforcement. I think we all can see that.
Yes, I totally agree
Next
with that.
item.
So yeah, welcome folks. December meeting.
Yes.
To everybody watching. We schedule formalities after our quick chat. Yeah, so first thing today is assessing the feedback. So I mean, since this isn't like a voting session, we'll just do a good run through. I'm not taking too long unless you guys want to. I know we talked a bit, so not gonna like restrict anything too much, but if you wanna keep going, we can keep going. But yeah, the main thing is just bike lane feedback, the DOT plan feedback. We'll talk about FDMI a little bit, updates on that, and also like just formulate some actions on each of these. And the next thing is Washington Avenue safety improvements. I think that's a good thing. I think we have, this is a quick sneak peek at that. We have some updates. I believe DOT said they want to announce some of the safety plan for Washington Avenue next year, 2025. That said, I was previously talking about this and saying, I think if we didn't hear from DOT, we should probably expand efforts from Washington Avenue into like a district-wide traffic calming, like plan. Because I mean, if they're not responding, might as well just give them more to do and take more work off their plate and just, finish
But
up.
would they really have the ability to do that big, like that's casting a very big net to go beyond Washington?
I mean, so is the school safety when they just put to us this year.
That's true, but there is a department within, I guess there's a department for just traffic calming in general. Yeah, I just feared that would be like, okay, so now it'll be,
Didn't we try to do this last year?
Many
To
years.
have a much larger package of resolutions, and it did not happen.
oh,
That
that's
was,
right.
we split it out because the bike lanes were too expensive.
But like, so what other traffic calming or traffic reducing or traffic safety improvement things would be in this proposal?
Things like speed bump requests, things like traffic calming types where there's like raised crosswalks versus speed bumps and means block speed bumps. These are all things that people have been asking for years as well. So if you could actually come up with a holistic solution in one go, might make sense. And it might also, again, give DOT an easier thing to act on.
And you had mentioned that, Louis didn't indicate the walkway, which is helpful. Remember, you had mentioned that could be added.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, one thing I've been hearing from the folks on the Kingston Avenue side is one of their preferences for traffic calming is raised crosswalks. And I've seen them recently, and they're going to do a really good job, because,
I love
Like, you
it.
know-
Groceries, strollers, kids, very nice.
yeah, right? Because, like, typically people just think of speed bumps, and it's like, it's mid-block, you slow down mid-block, and you
Is
see
it
that.
the same, it's like at least a 2-year wait to even get a response when you make a speed hump request? Is it the same delay in response when you ask for a raised crosswalk?
I mean, if you're an individual making a request, probably so, but if you're a community board, you can probably get some more of it. Especially if you kind of like steer the roadmap, might help.
We've had zero communication from the DOT as far as where they're holding in response to, or the amended plan.
Yeah, true. Well, the amended plan has not even yet got its general board, so it's not official yet.
Ah, okay. So-
I'm not surprised, but it is impressive that they're even coming for a plan that is not yet
When are they coming?
adopted.
They're coming again?
No, they've been coming,
Yeah.
like October, November,
Alright.
So that plan, it's still just a committee, like, brainchild. It's not actually adopted yet by the full board, which we are occasionally trying to do. I try to get it in December as well.
Yeah. My only fear of, like Washington Avenue, for example, to say let's expand it to district-wide, like, yes, I want every street citywide to be safe. It takes time to do that, and then like, does that mean Washington Avenue safety is delayed because they're waiting to do a more holistic thing? And like, I think, again, good intention, but I mean, that's what,
I mean,
I've been on this committee for 6 or 7 years, and that's what Fred has been saying for nearly half that time. Let's look at it holistically.
yeah.
That's just, that feels cowardly to me, of like, let's not actually take action on a thing.
I mean,
Like,
I
Washington Avenue needs safety, let's do that.
agree.
So,
And that's why in the beginning, when I first got on this committee, we were doing a lot of like piece by piece builds. We did the entire,
A corridor by corridor.
yeah,
Right.
we were doing that, which makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a good idea, but I'm not any more against that than I am this. It's just, I'm thinking, since Washington Avenue's been passed, it's been already out there. In the meantime, while that's
so
on
to
its
go
way,
bigger, you're saying.
you can, if they ever come to us, we can say, oh, by the way, we also did the rest of the district for you.
Got it.
Have
But you're,
that go there.
but you're saying that they already are working on a plan, like their intention is to present something, well,
Yeah.
in
That is what
2025.
I've heard.
Did they tell you what was in the scope for Washington?
They were pretty vague as they something like that.
I-
They're
that's-
big on that. Yeah, they wanna, like, commence a plan, try to figure out.
I'm even trying to remember, I feel like when we spoke about Washington Avenue, we mostly spoke of from Eastern Parkway to Empire,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
But, I know I was talking to Andrew about it, the other day too, and wondering, Washington Avenue still goes for another, from Empire to, Lincoln Road, right? It's like right where it splits off.
Yeah.
And I always noticed that the buses coming down Washington that are then doing a layover on Lincoln, they have to make, they're coming southbound on Washington. They have to make a right on Lefferts, and then a left on Flatbush, and then a right on
Pretty
Lincoln.
awkward.
It's awkward, and each turn is a conflict, because they get the green when pedestrians have to walk, so there's a delay, and then, for a bus to make the swing, it's like, it's problematic at each spot. But I'm wondering, sometimes as part of traffic calming, you reduce too many people having access to a spot, right, and you streamline it more. Just as an idea, I'm curious, if Washington Avenue's direction from Empire to Lincoln Road was reversed, the buses wouldn't have to make a right, a left, and a right, they could just make a right turn.
So keep it southbound the whole
Keep
way.
it southbound, so it's
It's only that
primarily.
one block where it's one way. It's only where the gas station is. The other
Right,
side-
so it's just one block by that gas station, that triangle that
People go the wrong way down it
Yeah.
all the time.
Um,
I'm just gonna see if I can pull up on that.
Two-way, no?
well,
It's
no,
two
it was
ways.
two ways.
Until the last block, and
So
then
it's
we
just
have
this one
weird,
block.
like one-offs.
If anyone can see that. I wonder if the direction on this one block was changed, then the buses could just turn, keep going there and turn. And then the benefit there is you wouldn't have people flying Flatbush, and then if people are speeding, I mean, you live there, you tell me. I think most of the speeding is coming southbound, but if some of the speeding is coming northbound from people up Flatbush, if people
It's
then
coming
couldn't.
from both directions.
So if people couldn't use it as a cut through, then they couldn't go up this block and you'd reduce the amount of speeding from the north.
No, it's not that. It's, it's coming from both directions. The problem is this, there is no indication that there is a walkway.
No crosswalks?
Right.
That is the problem. Other than that, there's no problem.
Those are pretty long blocks too.
Right.
They're not like the rest of them, which are small.
Right. But there's the pedestrian ramp.
Right.
Like it's a no-brainer to me.
It is,
It's
the
like everyone
pedestrian
crosses.
ramp, you're absolutely
Yeah.
right. But there's no indication of a crosswalk to that
Right.
pedestrian ramp. So it doesn't give any indication that there's anyone that's gonna cross there. So then they just bypass it,
Right.
okay?
On Sterling Street? Or
I'm
Sterling?
sorry?
No, Washington.
On Washington.
So
So,
where Sterling Street, intersects Washington?
Montgomery.
No, yeah.
Oh, I thought
okay,
about
further
Montgomery,
north. They
yes.
put a crosswalk there on Sterling and Washington.
Okay.
There's,
Even though it's not signalized,
It's a
but
T.
it's a T, but they put a crosswalk, which they don't
Oh,
usually
yeah.
do
do.
we still have the maps
Which maps?
from like the Park Day, the open fair?
Yeah, I think we do. They're out there.
Well, then, either way, I still wondered
I'll
about
tell you where it is.
that one block of
What are we
Washington,
looking
with that
The big
making
map,
it
yeah,
easier
big
for
map
buses.
Awesome.
Instead of buses doing 3 turns to stop, they just do 1 turn.
That's the way it is, it's designed, is fine, because you see
Well,
what's
but
happening.
the buses are caught at 3 different traffic lights, so
They're fine. They put the light there, the DOT put that light there for a reason, that's fine. And what's happening with all the reconstruction that's going on for buildings that was never designed to be there, but now the city of Yes is there, they're already
You guys got
changing.
past that days ago.
I'm sorry.
Didn't that get past days ago?
So therefore, you have buses that are, maybe it's just a temporary routing, but, that's another story. But the main thing we're trying to instill upon everyone is we need crosswalks to indicate and a sign to indicate that we have to cross there.
Not yet.
Other than
I
that,
have a question for you, please.
everything is fine.
Why do you think the bus route is fine?
Well, for one, we all asked for that to be, because it was removed, the 48 bus was removed at one point. They didn't ask anyone in the community. So what we did was, we got 4,000 signatures, all they wanted was 1,500. We got 4,000 to make that bus route 48 to come back.
Okay, so someone in the city thought that that bus was not fine, and they removed it,
And they removed it,
but you guys wanted it back.
4,000 of us, yes.
why do you think the person who removed that bus from Washington Avenue felt the need to do that?
Then that's a good question to them. Because if you have 4,000 that felt it wasn't a good move, and it's being utilized, not just for the children, for Clara Barton, Prospect Heights to get on, not just for the, transferring routes, okay? That was a poor decision, okay?
So, the portion of Montgomery, Washington, that Hawker was talking about is that right here where the buses have to wiggle twice.
Yeah, so
And
that's,
then they
That's fine.
wiggle twice again
Cool.
here on Washington.
I'm gonna respectfully disagree with you, I don't think it's fine.
I think the main question,
This is both directions, this is this way only, this block of Washington.
no, I think
It's fine.
the thing was happening here, I think,
This is where the school is.
yeah. No, Phillies, I think your concern now is
Well, this
pedestrian
doesn't
safety.
exist anymore. so-
Right. Your concern is pedestrian safety, which is why you're saying it's fine, right? Correct.
Right,
Okay,
you're
I
talking
can
about
understand.
pedestrian
Talking
safety
about
here,
this.
which I agree
No,
there should
now,
be.
first off, I actually think this should be a more focused discussion, because you're clearly talking about two different things.
Right,
Police concern is
I-
the pedestrians as a whole.
I agree with
Right.
that.
So, of course, you'll
Fully
say the
on
bus
board.
is fine with respect to that.
Right.
That makes perfect sense to me.
Thank you.
You're bringing up a whole different, like,
I
bus
mean,
line and
that's what I'm-
configuration.
Well,
issue.
I was asking what we passed about Washington, was it all of Washington, or was it Washington's Empire?
It was Washington for traffic calming, which is maybe
Right, but when you
pedestrian
said,
safety,
I think
but-
Andrew asked what was the scope, and you said they were
Yeah.
vague, so I'm like, oh, what was our resolution? So if our
So-
resolution's not the Empire, then yes, that wouldn't be covered. If they were looking at all of Washington and knowing that the Brooklyn bus
I
route is
have
not
the
happening,
resolution that we wrote right here.
Yeah, it is.
then, so then this is, I agree with Felice on pedestrian safety here.
Mhm.
Then I'm posing a new question about Washington Avenue. I watch buses get stuck at each of those lights, making the,
And that's a better way to frame that, yeah.
right,
These same
Right.
get stuck.
yeah. So when they're making, because they're making 3 turns instead of 1, would it be more efficient if instead they just made that
So
one
they
turn?
turn here, and then they come around.
Yeah.
Anybody
That's
know
how
why
they-
they?
That's how they, that's the route.
But the question is, do we want buses to
I
get
don't know.
stuck?
They're not getting stuck, I don't know. I mean, I was raised here, I'm trying to understand, you know, what
The
is the
buses,
point?
the B40 gets stuck.
Excuse me, please, let me complete my thought. I'm trying to understand, why are we focusing on this turn? And you're right, I'm over here where I'm trying to get to safety on Washington Avenue. Now, I don't know if, and I stand there, and I watch the buses go by, I even go to the gym and watch what's going on. I even go on Lincoln Road and watch that as well, okay? So I don't understand, you know, where are we going here? Please, I'm getting, you know, a little, I'm trying to understand. I'm over here,
So there-
safety.
There
Okay.
are 3 crossings that do not have pedestrian markings, like crosswalks.
That's where we are.
Classen, which is on, not Washington, so Classen and Union,
Correct.
Carroll, and Montgomery do not have crosswalks. They do not have curb cuts, they do not have any sort of
And that's what we
pedestrian signage.
need.
I think one of them does have
That's
a curb
it.
cut. I've seen curb cuts here that don't have a crosswalk.
Really?
Yeah,
Is there a curb cut on the other side of the street?
Well,
yes.
either way, I think a simple ensure that curb cuts and crosswalks are in these spots is a way
Yeah.
to catch all
Yes,
the
please.
difference all over.
I agree. That was like a year ago that we already had
Yeah,
that conversation.
almost a year
discussed
ago.
it. I agree with Felice.
That was on March 26, 2024.
Okay, so 9 months ago. I'm saying,
Because I'm looking at.
I agree with it. Full agreement there. Also on Washington, but new topic. I see buses trying to go to Lincoln Road have to go that way, and that way. And each of those turns takes a couple minutes, slows things down, and it's potential for danger. So,
I'm gonna entertain you. So what do you suggest we do then? We should tell them not to turn here?
no. I'm saying this block of Washington right now is one way this way. Right? That's the only thing you can do. If it was one way that way, then the buses, instead of turning that way, they would go there and turn.
Further south is also going south?
It
It
stops.
And
It's
So-
the end of Washington.
There's-
it's a very,
like
it's a
a-
very weird thing where there are a few streets where the last block is the opposite direction, essentially.
I think actually
Like
that
Lincoln's the same
we could
thing.
do. It might be more appropriate actually to pair that with Lincoln, to put those two together under the guise of bus.
I think that's a better way. Yeah, I think I agree with that.
yeah.
That's a better way to do it.
And then we could.
That's
we
more
could
of a
integrate
street
that with the
configuration
bus
question,
redesign
yeah.
ideas.
Lincoln used to be 2 ways.
Lincoln is
Lincoln
two
is
ways.
two ways.
Oh,
Okay.
Well, it's two ways,
one
but
block.
for one
Only
block.
for one block.
Right.
The rest
Right.
of it's one way.
Right.
But this is the other thing we talked about last year.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, I understand how Washington, 48 goes down, it used to be going up to 48 bus, am I correct?
I guess 48.
48.
48.
But
only-
also
it's
the
only
43. Also the 43 makes
43 no
that
longer
turn.
does this. They filled this in, remember?
Yeah.
They filled that in, but the 43 still turns.
It goes down Flatbush.
They all end
The
here.
43 goes up here, but yeah, it does.
Right, this is
it
the
does make a
layover.
left. You're right, yeah, it does make
Right,
a
you
left.
have the 1643.
And all of the buses on Lincoln, they all go this direction.
Right.
No bus goes the other way.
Okay. So let's speak on Lincoln. So you wanna, the talk is you wanna make it one way, right? Am I?
Well, I was just wondering about Washington, but I think Andrew's idea is interesting of pairing it because it's like, yeah, we could also talk about Lincoln.
But yes, the idea is to make it one.
I don't.
To answer
I-
your question.
I don't want to make it one way. I want to
I'm just curious, what is more
improve
efficient?
the connection to the park.
Right. We don't want to make it one way. It's just an idea that came up that we're looking to see
I
if it
see.
makes sense.
Okay, it doesn't make sense.
The reason why it's 2
It
ways.
does not make
That's
sense.
why I think, well, it used to
What were you
be-
gonna say?
I'm saying, the reason why I think Lincoln is 2 ways over there is because there used to be traffic inside the park, and where you let people get to Flatbush Avenue.
That's no
Right.
longer a thing.
But
It's,
not a thing.
it's
And not
sort of a
just-
relic.
Not just that, but the emergency vehicle had that, for that purpose, 2 ways. And not just that, but you have a market that has their delivery. You have the Mexican restaurant that have their establishment. You have a building that have their parking on that side, the opposite direction. Okay, I have to say that word, 2 ways.
Well,
Okay,
Who,
so,
can you remind me of the business owners, the name that you brought it here a couple times?
The food's great.
Well,
the food is
Yeah,
great.
Anna.
Yeah, ANA,
So all of her deliveries happen on this side of the street
that's
as
her.
well.
Then you have the market.
Their deliveries also happen.
They're on the side as well.
So when you have that on one side, and then you have the other side where you have deliveries, because there's a building there for Amazon or mail or whatever, that's the purpose of the 2-way. Imagine having it one way, it
I'm
would be
on Main Street.
hazardous.
No, now what I can speak on that for a second. I think there are a few reasons why having Lincoln or one way could work. For one, I think it makes better use of the space that's on the street. I think you get an extra lane where trucks can load businesses on both sides without problems. You don't have people crowding trying to fit through when there are trucks on both sides, because there often are. There are trucks loading for Lincoln Market, for El Patron, for Ish, and then on the other side for the El Patron Snacks store. And then there's a deli a little bit further down by Ocean. Cars still have to pass both ways against each other while trying to walk that tightrope with those trucks on both sides offloading. If it were one way, that all goes away. You
How
can
does
just
that
pass.
go away when you have the bus that's there, you have delivery, all of it'll be on one side, and how
Because
does that all fit?
Because you have an extra 1 to 2 new free lanes that open up new space
Yeah,
for
I-
us.
So, right now, I'm sorry, excuse me, there is an indication of the bike lanes, they have to mark, because I went there, I saw the demarcation that they have there.
That isn't
okay.
a bike lane per se, it's just a shared indicator.
Okay. What happened?
It's been there for years, it's still there now.
Okay.
Nothing happened.
But
I mean, is that a good thing? Question.
It's debatable.
I personally don't like them, but
I think it is so let's say that you live anywhere on Lincoln Road, East New York, or Maple. You have a dedicated bike lane from here to here. And then for this one stretch here to get to the park, like this is how we commute. For this one stretch to get to the park, it is very unsafe. You gotta swerve out of crazy people's way 24/7. And then it's the park and it's wonderful and it's lovely. It is we lure people into a false sense of security. Like, all this wonderful stuff. And I will also say it breaks my heart to see people having to walk around delivery trucks to get onto buses that are parked on the wrong side of the street because there's multiple double parked cars in delivery every single day at rush hour. I see this every day. People walking into traffic, walking past people unloading crates of dairy.
So then what happens to the cars that have to come down on,
You mean if they're going up Ocean, you can just keep going.
okay,
Because they're going to Flatbush
Is that what you're gonna
anyway.
say? Is that what you're gonna say?
you got
They're right, they're going to Flatbush, they're going to Flatbush here, they're going to Flatbush
If
there.
this didn't
but-
exist, then we couldn't even entertain this, but
Okay.
you do have an outlet there.
But there's no outlet here. You need an outlet here as well, because to go all the way here, just to turn around here, you need an outlet.
But you're coming north from where?
You're coming from either direction, let's just say, because I like the flexibility.
Who are where are you starting in this car?
To be honest, it's actually faster to just do this often than to go through.
Yeah, 'cause
That's
you
what
get
you say.
Well, you get stuck there, cause there's too many, it's a mess because of all the buses, cause they don't have enough room, like,
You come in, you see 243s, a 60, and
Okay, so
two
then
trucks loading.
here-
So you think I should
Here's
just
where
gone
you're
all the
gonna
way
have
through.
to ask the community, here we go, about that.
So who, about what motion?
About this Lincoln Road. I mean, this
What
is,
motion are you worried about here?
No,
What direction?
no, the thing about asking the community is
this-
that's gonna be a whole different thing, which we should probably do, but that
But it's not just the community, we have to ask the business owners, we have to
The
ask.
bus
that's
drivers.
what I,
Aspect
no,
Park
no,
Alliance?
that's what
I
I'm
was-
talking
I
about,
was
when you
gonna
say the
s- I was
community,
gonna
that's what I
say-
mean, you gotta
yeah,
include
to
everybody.
me, the community here is, think of Lincoln Road on a Sunday when Smorgasburg is going or something, like, I mean, they don't live in our district necessarily, but they're coming, they're bringing business to the restaurants there, right?
Right.
You have tens of thousands of extra people whose opinion about this you may wanna take into account on the safety here, because if you're reducing the amount of directions that they have to look as they're crossing a street, you're making it, statistically, you would make it safer.
Right,
It's
so
it's an easier crossing for
So the
them
way-
and for drivers.
the way a lot of people see this is they think of a survey and they think of, okay, let's ask people, do they like our idea of making Lincoln Road one way? The answer is gonna be no, because they probably never thought about it before, for one. Two, the people generally don't like change, they don't spend at least an hour or more talking about this stuff, so they're probably not interested in doing the mental gymnastics you just asked them. So I think a good way to approach that survey would be to see what their level of comfort using Lincoln Road is like. How congested is it in their
I
opinion?
can't just say comfort, I have to say practicality,
But
and also, you talk about safety, and you have to think about a lot of components here.
The thing about that, practicality and safety can be measured in terms of numbers. But people don't think in numbers every day, they think in emotions. People think, I use it because it helps me, I can once in a while make that right turn and go down Flatbush. And people sit in the 10-minute wait that they might have there and they just live. They don't really think, I wonder how many crashes happen here, I wonder how many hours of business were wasted by trucks loading off and, blocking traffic
Okay.
every week. No one thinks that way.
So let's leave it for the community to,
So I do agree with Ethan that we should say, is street safety something that you want on Lincoln Road? Is a faster, less congested street what you want on Lincoln Road? Is
Right.
more
It's
access
gonna
to
be
buses?
Like in your
what you want on
It's
experience,
gonna be
has
more
this
congested.
street been congested in your opinion?
It's
Would you like it to be alleviated?
No, because I think that the
it's gonna be
light,
more
have you sat at this
Yeah.
light before?
I mean, we should do another walk there.
I live in
No,
New York City.
I'm not being
That's
sarcastic.
what your answer should be,
Yes,
yes.
This light-
absolutely, I mean, I'm over there all the time and I'm looking and I'm like, of course.
This light is twice as long as all the others on this stretch of Flatbush because there are two directions that are both going opposite ways.
To change the light,
But you can't, like,
You can if you have two directions,
just make that adjustment.
but you can't if you have two directions.
What do you mean, you can if you have two, they do it all the time.
they
You
do
understand?
they do a light for Lincoln Road only, and then they do a light for Lincoln Road westbound.
Right.
Okay,
Why
So
they
they-
synchronize them?
yeah.
Because you have essentially the two directions thing is what controls how long the light
Right.
is there.
You
can't-
can change it, but then
Because, like-
someone's waiting much longer.
No,
There's
no.
still 60 seconds in a minute.
But it's a
Why?
safety measure.
I understand, if you have a road, whether or not it's two directions or one direction, you can have people waiting the same amount of time, but, I mean, if it's a 60-second light, both directions are waiting 60 seconds.
No, that's the kind of suggestion that I think the
There's
DOT
also a
would be
little
very
slip lane.
unreceptive
Right.
to
There's another line?
There's like a slip lane.
Oh, that one.
into Washington.
That's what I'm talking about. That's why it gets very messy.
And also, it's an illegal turn to make from Lincoln onto Washington.
That is
There
true.
there are two big do not enter signs, you're not allowed to go that way. And when we went out, you were there with me, right, with Fred and Dante, like,
Yeah.
as we're there with DOT looking at as they repaved, or poured
You're
the
just
concrete
watching
there,
people keep
we
doing it.
watched a semi truck make a big U-turn illegally on Washington, like, So there's a lot of,
Enforcement is.
I know, but
If yes, it's enforcement, but if yeah.
Design
There is-
first.
Design.
And they changed that design because it wasn't like that
Put
before.
the string
But
of nails.
have you,
there,
have you ever seen like a path of desire, like in a park, you see like a pavement,
right,
and there's just a walkway through the grass carved by footsteps?
right.
Because people just will do what they will do because we're efficient
Yeah.
beings. This is an example of that. Are you gonna have a park walkway unpaved and have armed guards forcing you to walk the way you don't want to walk, or drive the way you don't want to drive, or are you gonna make the design better for people's travel? There is a choice.
See, then, here we go, law enforcement. All right, so then, so then, you know, that should be put on the table to reach out for Lincoln Road and have some sort of diagram to show, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, now going back to Washington Avenue, I'm sorry. I gotta
No,
go
no,
back there.
okay.
So let's finish.
North Washington.
Okay, hold on one second.
And
Let me just
south.
make sure we're on topic here. The original question was the scope of this was from Eastern Parkway to Empire. That's correct. That is true.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay,
Later on, we can expand that to maybe
Well-
optimize more of the avenue.
or just as a separate thing. I don't want anything getting in the way
Perhaps.
of this
Like
safety
the
happening.
agenda here is making something happen here.
Right.
And adding in whatever actions we could to help things move on this.
But that's already passed the full board, right? We
Yeah, it's
proposed it in March.
which means we can take actions to help
Okay,
get done.
got
Like it's definitely a adopted resolution now. Alright? So
Right,
ideas here would generally be who else can we bring into the fold here to have them, you know, give feedback on this and kind
I
of
wanna take a look.
reaffirm how important this is, because it's kind of wild to me that people would have a lack of crosswalks and traffic calming infrastructure next to an international attraction, which is the Botanic Garden here. It's been voted as one of the best botanic gardens in the world.
Right.
It makes no sense that you can cross the street, but like
They
a
can't.
4-block span, you can cross the street and get hit
Right,
easily
exactly.
with a vehicle, right? I don't know where else in the world this happens.
And
This
two
should
people
not
got
be a thing.
killed. Come on.
Like you go to little islands around the world, they have this stuff sorted all the time. You know, this shouldn't be a thing here. So, I think,
Don't forget, don't ride a bike, forget about it. You can't even walk.
right, you gotta walk the bike and hopefully you can both make it out in one piece.
No, they ride it on the sidewalk. Okay?
It's the only safe spot these days.
I know-
Because that's how dangerous it is.
The typical design guidelines will only put a crosswalk if it's a traffic, if it's a signalized intersection. But there are like exceptions to the rule, like we got that crosswalk at.
I mean,
at
most
T
of these
line.
are- There's just stop
I
signs.
disagree there. I think there's
Well,
also
the guidelines are that,
Yes,
but
DOT,
you can,
like DOT's pushing to install crosswalks along Brooklyn and on the walk as well, you know, along Brooklyn Avenue and Federal and
Right,
the
right,
streets
like-
down there that
yeah.
should have had crosswalks,
Right.
obviously for years,
yeah,
didn't have them. And they're not signalized, but DOT's apparently just realized that people do cross and should have crosswalks.
right,
I
right,
mean, that's not even school, that's just general, it's not even school safe, that's just general.
right, but I'm
you
saying
know,
it's,
your
the
first-
typical
your first
response,
brain cell should tell you that.
like if you get the form letter response when you request it, they'll be like, we can only do it at a signalized thing. But yes, there are definitely exceptions that they'll do, certainly if the community board asks.
Most of like New York and Brooklyn Ave are just 4-way stops with crossings.
Right.
Like when I go down Maple, I go down Maple all the way to Utica.
Yeah,
It's
but
mostly 4-way
Maple's
stops
only a
with
stop
crossings.
at not Kingston Ave. Yeah, it's a stop here. It's not signalized. But no, there's a lot of signals.
I feel like
There's not-
there should
But
not be.
there's a mix
there
though.
shouldn't
They
be-
There's
they
a
all
mix.
have crosswalks is what I'm
Like
saying.
stop signs should have crosswalks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Washington Avenue should have both.
Yes.
So stop signs and crosswalks in these cases.
Okay. So we are escalating this? Like what's the action here?
So yeah. So we know that they have a plan coming up in 2025, which is great. Let's speed this up though. So yeah, I guess we should escalate this one. We probably should get a letter written to, you know, Botanic Garden, other folks.
They have the curtain.
They do.
There's always somebody parked in there. You
I know,
gotta-
well, because
you gotta be lucky.
it's
Because
legal
it's-
to park there.
Yes.
It shouldn't, I would say it shouldn't be legal to park
Right,
there.
but it is.
If you're in a wheelchair, you have to
That's-
go
that's
all the way
correct.
down, like it's
And
crazy.
for babies, for
Yeah.
the women, you know, strollers.
So technically, like clearly, it's
Oh,
cut
that's
down,
a
that's where you would,
crosswalk,
well, it's a crosswalk without a crosswalk.
Right.
So, but if you're trying to get to the other side of the block, like, and there's a cut there, but there's no crossing, so.
Is that in line with the cut?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's just the other side.
So they just didn't put any paint down.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
so let's just go to Home Depot and get some paint.
And I'll do it with you.
Yeah.
You know, someone suggested that to me a
I-
while back.
People have done that.
People are
Guerrilla tactics,
suggesting like, why don't we just get the community out and paint the crosswalk ourselves?
Yeah.
I mean, it gets
I'll do it
bad
with
press, it gets bad, like, I mean, it's illegal and unsafe and there's liabilities, but you do that for a day, the paint, if you, generic paint will fade, it's not thermal
Yeah.
mass coming out. But it gets a news article out there, it makes DOT look really bad, and then they
Yeah.
wanna rectify the situation immediately,
Yeah.
and so it sometimes does work. So like, there's, you know,
I mean, we should
It's
also
like a
work. We
protest.
should also work in more talk with the press on this too, because I mean, it is important. If you know, if someone gets hit again, you probably regret not doing more. So I mean,
we could like pitch like a news story on it.
it would be a good move.
You need one photo of a stroller trying to cross there. And
I could check Shutterstock.
no, I'm saying like
And a
I'll
wheelchair.
give you my stroller, like
And a
you know, just
wheelchair.
right,
And a
like just
wheelchair,
show
yeah.
it, like
Because
and
we have a
it's-
lot of handicapped people.
yeah, it's a legit problem for people, and we'll like if we pass this in March, we could say like you know it's now 9 months later and DOT has still done nothing. That's a very easy story that like Greg Mocker on John 11 would do or something like that.
Yeah.
Could
Channel
get
12,
action.
Yes.
Oh yeah, the local Portland.
DOT obviously has other, priorities. So
Right.
what are those? Is that fulfilling the mayor's 100 miles of bike lanes or?
That's not a priority.
No, so,
Tier 2 is a complaint-driven organization.
Right.
okay, but the
Like-
plan that they presented to us is based on complaints?
Yeah,
They didn't present the plan to us.
No, the original plan they gave
I
us.
think one of the
No,
guys
they
that
didn't
came here
present
said
anything
that.
for Washington.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the.
I think that was Nick, right?
Somebody said it. I thought it was
Oh,
somebody.
but we're
Are you talking about
They
just
didn't say
this?
so
Yeah,
much
we're-
I'm saying that
stuff that they
instead of.
haven't
oh
done.
that well they said
That
the
they have
schools
no
were
priorities. So the priority, the thing that goes to the top is the thing.
They want a
that
pedestrian
push
safety,
back or
and
the-
sometimes it's coupled.
Oh, I see.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay.
But I mean, it must have been
Some
complaints.
Yeah, we need to complain
Yes.
politically.
Yes.
Right, but they
yes.
went way
I can
beyond
pull
that.
that in, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, no, they went.
Yeah.
Right,
Further.
so they're using those complaints in order to push forward
mean,
their.
You could do daylighting here. There's the daylighting mandate.
Well, it's not yet a mandate, but it might
The
be.
goal to do
I mean,
100
there is a
per
yeah, there is
year.
Right, I'm just wondering what's driving them.
You could, yeah, they
The
could.
projects that they do take on.
They could
because
check off a couple
some
of
things
other
they take
things.
forever.
Yeah.
I mean, the things that, small things that would help a lot.
I mean, maybe the head of the department that we're trying to work on Washington Avenue. Maybe not on
Sorry, that's
PTO.
my prayer time.
They what?
Maybe the person's on PTO whoever handles.
Maybe
that.
10
But-
daylighting intersections checked off if they do this. If we wanted to pitch that, but I think it's just better
I mean,
escalate.
For like just the crosswalks that were of the many things we want to see on Washington, for the crosswalks, that could like be probably designed in a couple of days and installed in a couple of hours
Yes.
at most. So like, it is very low hanging fruit. Some projects are much a bigger scope or take a lot, but like,
This is not tough stuff.
no.
It's not, especially when 2 people died on this strip and they don't see any priority on this. Not to
I
mention-
think they should, instead of like a ghost bike, there should be like a ghost car when someone gets hit by a car in the city.
There are sometimes signs that say a pedestrian was killed here. which, like,
It should be
is-
more commonplace. I mean, very easy to.
Well, they would be all over. You would have them on every
Great,
corner.
complaint driven. Take a photo, send to DOT. That'd be nice.
It was a cycler that got killed.
Well,
It was 2.
The drivers
I
don't see
mean-
those signs, do they?
That like every corner of our district has injuries. So
And red is death.
red is death. We have been shockingly lucky, I would say.
Utica,
Utica's
yikes.
bad.
Utica, yeah.
Utica can be.
Although this isn't accurate because there was the cyclist on Rogers was killed.
Yeah, the comedian guy.
Yeah, that lived here for.
He just had 4 years and stopped.
What? I didn't know about that.
But that wasn't.
It was on Rogers and.
But it wasn't a collision.
He just collapsed
I
while he was
mean-
riding?
No, there was a box truck that knocked him over. Yeah. So I mean, this is some of the data, not all. But yes, Felice knows Washington. Like, there's clearly been injuries there. If we put a sign for everything, we would be a city full of signs every single where.
We already
But-
are.
Alright.
I just want to fix the streets. I don't
Please,
care
can
about
you
the signs.
probably spearhead a letter to PBG since you know the folks over there?
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah.
And daycare too?
The
Is that like-
daycare,
They didn't get their sign off on a letter with us. That'd be great.
okay, so you want, Brooklyn Central Gardens, letter, and you want daycare, you want a letter from the daycare,
Well, if you know.
I do,
Yes, please. That'd be
okay.
great.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I can get a letter from the store that's there on the
It's a-
corner, cause that's where the
It's a
accident.
potential outlet.
Great, yeah.
Alright,
Well,
mental note, so store,
Do you need a swap?
BB
10% I'll live on the edge.
and daycare, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Alright, so I got some letters out. We'll
So
go
what's
see
this
if-
letter gonna request? What's
Well,
the
it'll
goal of-
just,
Survey.
the letter, I think,
We wanna find out if everybody would be acceptable to changing the Lincoln Road.
oh no, this is about Washington Avenue, the crosswalks.
Oh, the crosswalk.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna go back to Lincoln
We
Road.
kinda got some.
Okay, but I mean, the crosswalks, why wouldn't anybody want them, so.
So now we're just trying to push.
There's
Yeah, this
always
is-
someone against something. Someone will oppose a crosswalk.
Maybe the speeding drivers would hate it.
Oh, yeah.
They'd be.
They don't wanna stop, yeah.
Oh yeah, good way to out yourself.
You're funny.
Against the stop sign? But yeah, so I think that's a good start. Some letters in those areas.
Okay, so the letters will state that we need a crosswalk
Yeah, just take a-
for safety measures.
Yeah, just to sort of back our already made resolution and the fact that the community board has one idea and this is the thing you guys should be doing but haven't done in a while.
Okay.
No need to be talking about it, but anyway, just to like spotlight the fact that this is a great idea that hasn't been implemented, so please do it. Second is just to press, of course, press our friends, so let's see if we can, get some attention on this.
Shows that CB9 is taking action.
Yeah, yeah.
So do you think I should get a letter from CB9 indicating this is what we're looking for?
From CB9.
Yes.
We have-
We are CB9.
No, I mean, you know what I mean, like from Dante is what I'm referring to. So
we
it's
could.
an accident.
We
occurred.
could with the resolutions already is technically the letter.
Right.
Yeah, I can use
We
this,
would
you're
need
right.
to-
Yeah.
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 This
we
is
can use
it.
this,
Like,
yes.
we don't
Say,
need to.
this has been sat on for almost a year.
Yeah, it's collecting, it's collecting support essentially.
Okay, very
Just have
good.
letters backing it, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, anybody know, is there like an online list of like a pipeline of DOT projects for the city?
Like a request of projects?
A pipeline of projects that they're
Like things
looking
that,
into.
like
Yes.
their internal roadmap.
Yes, they have like a cap, if something gets capital funding, it is on a list.
Mhm.
So that is crosswalks, no.
Like
Changing the
can you
street.
rebuild-
No, even changing the street or adding that little plaza on Washington, that was capital, and that's on this list. So that's reported every quarter, they
So
publish
it's just
it.
capital projects.
Capital is like
No,
anything
no
over
say.
$100,000, so it's pretty low.
Oh, interesting.
For the city, it's nothing.
Have you heard that Toronto's removing a bunch of backlines?
I,
I saw something
They're
about
paying like I
that.
think 2 to 3 million to remove one block of the backline.
it's,
Or at
really?
or at least like one street worth of backline.
At that point, just keep it.
Just let it fade.
Don't paint it in 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're.
What? $1 million off the painted street?
To
No.
To strip the bike
To
lane.
unpaint it.
To unpaint it, that's ridiculous.
Well, that's what they're doing.
I have to find you the actual article.
I mean,
but
this is what happens
This
when
is
things get political. This is in Toronto.
Toronto.
And the Canadians, they're feisty. That's the one thing I know about Canada. No,
Right.
I'll put that in the notes.
so, can I ask, by the way?
Yeah.
So we're on Washington Ave. Can we?
Yeah, we're
was
going
any-
backwards in the agenda right.
Yeah, is there
Yeah.
anything on the, this is the feedback, it is 57% in support,
Right. Yeah.
57.8% in support.
Mm-hmm. I have the actual like real-time numbers on the on the survey itself. I can pull it up if you want.
There's been more responses since it was
I
printed.
mean, I'm not sure, but
But-
I'm saying I think you're right. But
I don't think it'll
maybe
change
not.
from majority support to majority opposed. But like, we did this exercise of asking for feedback, and the feedback is mixed, but it is a majority of support. Is this good enough to go to full board?
I think so. Definitely is. I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you see any modifications based on this that impact the sort of little tweaks that you had made earlier? Because this is about the original
It is.
game plan.
I know. Yeah.
So,
Really? I thought there was a lot more.
Hmm?
I thought there was a lot more opposition.
So-
so they were,
What I'm seeing live is 56.2% support, 42.2% opposed, and neutral looks like 6%. I mean, sorry, 1.6%.
This is the most recent survey, though.
This is the most recent
But it's
survey.
based on the original plan.
the
It's a
survey
survey-
had snippets of the plan in it.
Yeah, the survey had
DOT.
had the plan, it had
And it had our
it had our
changes.
changes in it,
Uh-huh.
and it asked for opinions and feedback on the original DOT plan, as well as remarks in specifics on the community, more communities adjustments.
Alright.
So,
It's hard to argue against, I know, but
So-
we changed things to sort of make them more
We did.
appealing.
we did.
Right, that's what I was gonna ask.
This would suggest that maybe we don't have to start at the negotiating table with that. We could reserve that for later.
Like, we could get the feedback and then make the changes.
Yes.
The feedback on what?
This is majority support of the original DOT plan,
Yeah.
which I, to be honest, was not expecting.
Neither was I.
So, and then when we go through this process with DOT,
Mhm.
then if there's still pushback, then we can, like, I don't think we should have a motion that says, we wanna pare this down. You know?
Well, some of it had to have been pared down, because Kingston actually wouldn't work with a protected black label tuna patent. It's actually too small for that. Like, the street wouldn't move. That's unworkable,
That may be true, but like,
right? And the thing is, we anticipated a lot of this. We anticipated the things that wouldn't work out, like the Kingston and Brooklyn sections, right? Which we're still hearing about today, like all who knows. And we anticipated other parts of it, but the reason why we didn't like pare it down too much is because we also thought there would be roughly even opinions,
Yeah.
right? And there seem to be roughly even opinions.
I mean,
Like,
there's, if I go through the support things, there's many people that say this doesn't go far enough. Keep going, extend the bike lanes further, so like,
You also have to include the Berman's survey as well.
That too.
And that was like 90% against.
I didn't see that.
It's a 900-person survey.
Yeah, there's a lot,
And they
and
collected
mostly
names
from the
and
Jewish
addresses.
community,
Yeah.
and it was, I mean, a large majority were totally against it.
Right.
So we have two competing surveys, right? What do you
Yeah.
do?
We add it
That's what we
together
do.
and,
And I think what we do is
I didn't see the one that was on the website.
So that was my question. Did we incorporate our changes along with the survey that made this decision?
I believe we did, because the survey from Berman, that was a survey from people who largely thought that bike lanes would not work on Kingston and make the street too narrow, and we physically saw with our own eyes that the DOT's plan would actually make the street too narrow in some places, and we got rid of the problem, right? We were pretty proactive and got rid of some people's issues before we heard them,
Right.
which is kind of what our job here is to do, It's not just to lay down and, outsource the work to everybody else and have them tell us what they want to do. It's to look at this plan and see if it makes actual sense, numbers on paper. Like, can a car fit through? Can two fit through, etc. And solve the problem before it gets installed, which we did. And we saw that a lot of the issues revolve around the same things we looked at making changes to.
Right.
That's the whole point. So yeah, I think we did solve the issues from that survey. So a lot of people, many of them are just against the bikes in general because they don't want their life to be harder with a vehicle, with an SUV or a car, whatever. Which is true. We all don't want that. We want everything to work out. So, but a lot of the issues stem from fear about the road being too narrow, which Kingston is above Empire, right? And being too busy and while being too narrow. And I think we did solve that one.
Okay, so
Right. So yeah.
I retract my statement then.
Well, I mean, I think the point you're making is a fair point.
It is.
I think I would lean more towards what I think you're getting at of like, I think we've done more than our due diligence of, we were asking for something even before they had a proposal, then we saw their proposal, then we got a lot of feedback, there were multiple meetings, multiple surveys, and like, I mean, I also trust everyone's opinion here, like, we're all talking about it, we went on a walk about it, like, it's not a perfect plan, but, And also, I think at the end of the day, we're advisory. We don't have any actual, like, we can't enforce any of it. We advise agencies, but like, they will still do their thing. So I think we've given some really good constructive feedback. If it allows them to feel like, oh, okay, there's loosely buy-in, let's try it.
Yeah, I think it can work. Now, on your second question, modifications to the changes, right?
Don't worry about it. Never mind.
There are other things happening. I got a letter recently from a few people who live on Fenimore asking for those bike lanes to be removed from the plan. They don't want, they have walks in it. And I mean, you know, these are some of them are homeowners. I'm not sure if they went from the apartment building to get more sound from those who lived in that, but there is some pushback from those on Fenimore. And I can understand the idea because it's a quiet street.
Yeah.
There isn't really a burning need for a bike lane there. And they're concerned that it's going to do more harm than good to them.
I think
rather than
in
good
the
to
plan
them.
it's listed as a possible add-on.
Right. So it's not necessary. I'd be open to an amendment to remove those two, because what we actually had asked for was primarily just two more north-south
North-south
lines.
connections.
We still didn't even get those yet.
We had originally asked for like a network,
Yes.
and north-south is not a network.
Well-
That's only to go up or down. If I can't
Right.
go across the district, then what's the point? And,
Yeah.
and I would oppose,
Okay.
I would oppose,
I need a visual.
I would
Yeah,
oppose
so
a measure.
Dashed lines are things that we had been proposing in some.
Right. We had proposed to like finish up the network by adding this to New York. This wasn't part of it as well, at least until somewhere around here. And this would have kind of given people a good amount of because right now it's just all trying to get here to go up,
Yeah.
as opposed to not having any of
So
it.
we don't have a complete east to west connection because this
Right.
is
Lincoln.
terrible.
It's not great.
And then this does
This
not
is-
exist. So we don't have an east-west connection. We have strong, wonderful, not perfect, but good enough bike lanes in the majority of the district. And then we have one that goes north-south.
Now, the other thing, speaking of Fenimore and Rutland, that would create that kind of connection here-ish to Flatbush. When you go to the park,
But
which is
it-
also
yeah.
dangerous, you still end up on a
You
dangerous
dead
busy
at the
street.
Flatbush and
So
you're
that
like,
doesn't make any sense, really. I was going to say it could work. Maybe these two could potentially make sense because it does kind of provide
Which
something.
one? Fenmore.
Fenimore, because it does get us to Flatbush, but again, it
Yeah.
ends at the same place, so it doesn't really improve anything.
No, but it's further south that, I mean, I don't know, maybe there is a way eventually to make Parkside better. I
but
don't
then,
know,
like, you would need to go all the way to Flatbush. You could stop at Bedford and transfer.
Well, also, I mean, nothing is,
It's not-
nothing needs to stay bad. I think we can all agree Flatbush is not good right now for anyone. The buses get stuck,
Strike
like,
the bus.
The drivers get stuck.
the drivers get stuck, the pedestrians get cramped, like, so it's also not working. I don't wanna sit, like, this is clearly a destination. I think we do want people to go there. Like, for every person that tells me, go ride your bike in the park, like, yeah, let me get to the park. You know?
Right.
And then also,
Safely.
and then, right, safely, and then also, I also wanna get to places around here, like, my daughter goes to school here, she's biking she's sick, she'll bike on the sidewalk and I'll be on the street, but like, when we then go pick her up, and then I go to get my other daughter, I take Fenimore, we come down, we'll go Lincoln, or East New York, then we'll turn onto Kingston, or sorry, down Brooklyn, we pass Wingate, then we go Fenimore here, and I pick her up on Rogers, and Rogers and Fenimore. So like, for her, she'll need a bike lane when she's a little bit bigger, so just because someone says they don't want a bike lane there, I'm like, well, I oppose that, I do want a bike lane, because I know she'll need it. So I don't think we could just say, well, this is a need there, it's like, there are needs everywhere, everyone has their own, everyone travels in a certain way, they should be safe, however they do it.
Interesting. Okay.
I just want to, on these quiet residential streets, why do you really need a bike lane? I mean, you can ride on it without being worried about getting hit, like, with or without a bike lane.
You ride on it?
I mean, I ride, not a Fender, I don't know how wide it is, but I'm saying,
It's the same width as Maple, that has a bike lane.
that has a bike lane.
It's the exact same width.
Right.
It would be the exact same setup. And
Right.
I don't want to assume that just because I feel safe, I shouldn't assume that you feel safe.
Yeah, but
I can tell you, I don't feel safe seeing once my 6-year-old is 10 or 12 or at 14, you have to not be on the sidewalk. Once she's,
I mean, if you're riding on the street along the parked cars, I mean, you're worried the car's gonna hit you, I mean.
Yeah.
I mean.
you make a face. Have you been hit by a car on a bike? I have. Like, it really sucks.
I know, but I ride on, I'll ride on, Carroll Street, and I don't.
Carroll's wider.
Okay.
Carroll's really wide actually.
Carroll's very wide.
Yeah.
But again, you make the person who's most vulnerable. Like, you know what, I could cross Washington without a crosswalk, but I still think the person in a wheelchair needs a crosswalk. You know, so like,
That's
just-
different, you're going perpendicular to traffic, it's much more dangerous than if you're riding along traffic, there's enough room for
Well,
you and a
You
car
could,
on the
there
side.
is an argument that it actually is safer going perpendicular because the drivers can see you and you can see them stop and you can go, versus riding alongside a car. The person could just make a right turn and just clean you off the road.
Yeah.
Like they cannot look in the mirror, but they are looking ahead for the most
Right.
part. So like you can step out into the street and watch them stop for you, versus being alongside them. They can just do anything. They can just drift a little bit over and take you
and
out.
I think the benefit of, even on the quieter residential streets, the benefit of having a bike lane, that's even just paint, like, it's not my preferred, I prefer protection that I know my 6-year-old is fine. The benefit of having a bike lane is you know which side of the street to even be on. Right now, do I go on the left or the right? You know,
But
so like,
a lot
It's
of
always
these
the right side.
cyclists, they don't obey that.
that's
They
true.
don't.
Also, a lot of drivers don't obey whatever it is. So it's like, I wanna at least have a place that seems like most likely the bicycle will be there, most likely the car will be here, and there shouldn't be a conflict,
I mean,
you know?
My personal argument again about that is, I mean, people not obeying lanes isn't a reason to remove them or to not have them. Like you have streets where drivers drive in the middle of the two lanes, you just remove the paint and just make it a free for all? Probably not. Like lane markings help people, and if people are not really abiding by those, probably because they're not accustomed to it. Maybe there aren't enough lanes in the area for people to use. So they're accustomed to fending for themselves in streets that aren't really designed to help them.
No, I have to. I hear you, but as a driver, you're right. Each and every one of you, everyone have their own style of feeling safe or way of driving or the way of riding. I concur with this. As a cautious driver myself, I look, okay, I even turn my head. And knowing that I'm cognizant of a bike lane, I go, okay, I really have to be on point with who may dart out in front of me,
Right.
okay? Or if I'm gonna make a right or left, to see what's coming, okay? But that's me. So I hear what you're saying, okay? I heard you. Does bike lanes have to be everywhere? Can you go in an area where bike lanes are, but that may, put someone else out, yes? So here we are again. I try to listen to everyone, so that we can all work together and be cohesive and pleased with what we're doing. Okay, because I really don't want any resentment, oh, here goes a damn bike, oh, look, damn cars, oh, shit, with scooters, yeah, so, this is what we have to do, consider, yes? And with that being said, when you spoke of Lincoln, okay, we have to have a diagram which we can see that will be cohesive so that everyone can fit, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so you wanted to look at another bike lane on Maple, you said?
No,
Or
I
was it
just said,
on-
when Ethan said he would maybe be open to making a motion to amend our existing motion, to remove Fenimore,
Because
in the
Fenimore is
DOT
too small.
proposal. No, and I'm saying I would very much oppose that, because.
We don't have enough people to vote on a change.
Well,
to
that's
it.
right.
No, it wouldn't be, I'm just saying,
Just
if
as
it
There's no
comes,
as is.
and people can also amend things at the general board meeting too.
And they were
So
going,
that's-
they're going to try.
And so that's also a possibility.
Well, that's what we wanna have it here, where we can make sense of everything, and,
Not everyone's gonna come to transportation.
I mean,
By the time,
we've had packed houses in here before.
I know we
Yeah.
have, it's just not today.
It just comes down to how we
I
market
think
the
it's
meeting
close to
houses.
the holidays.
It's holidays, it's
Yeah,
raining,
yeah,
it's
raining,
gross.
yeah.
That's true.
Looking at this map, I'm trying, it's tough enough to crack as far as the north and south was.
Mhm.
But I would definitely, as far as going north, I would definitely I would think using New York Avenue would be much wiser than let's say,
Kingston?
Yeah.
and Kingston.
We agree.
I use New York
Because New
Avenue.
York is it's a one-lane street going up, so there's
Yeah, it's
plenty
a
of room.
metro.
And it also lets people that actually live south of us continue to go north. This just sort of lollipops around Wingate,
Yeah,
and it doesn't actually go into Flatbush.
right.
True.
And regarding going south, I mean, there's gonna have to be a compromise. Right now, you have Schenectady, Albany, and Brooklyn Avenue, but all three of them are 2 lanes going south. So if you took one of those avenues and turned them into a 1-lane avenue and add a bike lane, or I don't know.
Wait, Albany
share-
is not two-way, is it?
Albany is 2 ways, yeah.
Oh, wait, sorry, it's not
Two lanes.
two-lane,
What's that mean?
but isn't it two-way? in a
One
certain
way
place?
each.
No, no, it's
It's-
1 way
it's-
going down,
Albany.
until like the hospital.
Oh,
Until
right.
Clarkson, I believe, or Winter.
Yeah,
It
it
just
goes
feels
through,
wider
it goes,
to me.
it twists through the hospital,
Yeah,
and then it becomes 2
Maybe
lanes.
it's
Oh,
very
right,
wide.
then it's two-lane,
Then
yeah.
2 ways.
And it's wider, yeah, it's 2 ways there,
Yeah.
right. 'cause I-
I would also say that like, as you get down Eastern Parkway, the number of crashes, collisions, injuries, and deaths actually goes up a lot.
Down which,
So sorry, like starting from
Going
here
east.
to here, I made a diagram. Let's see if I
they're
can
going
find this.
east,
Yeah. One second.
I made a diagram about this. What back in the day?
but what kind
I don't know,
of?
the crashes look like they're everywhere to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yikes.
What? Oh,
Yikes.
Again, I mean, we don't know who's at fault.
No, we know who's injured.
Yeah, well, that's a big problem. I mean, that's one of the problems I have with all this data is that, you know,
You
if
wanna
the
know the time of
bicyclist,
day?
well, if the bicyclist did something wrong, you know,
And
we
so
should
here,
punish the drivers.
Here,
because of
here.
that.
This is not, there's no cyclists involved in
That's
that.
a Parkway, interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, like it's pretty.
But also, whose fault? I mean, it's the same problem.
It doesn't matter. There's a lot of kids. Like
Well, who's getting injured? Kids or bicyclists or?
map it onto the general population. It doesn't. Like,
Yeah.
Well,
If 200 people get injured and it's the general population
I know, but-
versus 20 people get injured,
the problem is, there's no like, you can't carpet bomb the area and say, okay, we're gonna.
no, I'm just saying if you have to pick a new bike lane and you would also introduce street treatments to calm traffic and make crossing safer, you would try to align it to that.
This is the map without bikes involved.
It's just pedestrians.
Just pedestrians and
This
cars.
is what I.
It's the exact same map, it's like, it's just dangerous everywhere.
Right. But then again, also, if somebody steps into against the red
It
light.
just it keeps it sort of
It
tracks
keeps
with
our
this
cars.
parkway.
Yeah, that's true.
I
And
don't
it's
know.
weird because more pedestrian on the west side because there's more attractions there typically.
It's very dense all the way down Eastern Parkway. A lot of people live like
I'm surprised.
I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
no.
it's necessary to know the
very
details.
surprised.
I mean, it's tedious,
I'm surprised.
pain in the neck, but
but
if you wanna
Yeah.
really, if you wanna get to the root of the
Yeah,
problem, you
yeah.
need to know what's causing
I-
it.
Would think it'd be
vow-
up here.
channeling your
You
inner
would
valor.
think so, right?
Yeah.
Who's at fault here?
No.
Can we have the data?
Well,
Wonder why.
but then like stepping back, like, I don't even care who's at fault, I just don't want people hurt.
I know, but again, you know, you're not gonna change people's, I mean, if it's pedestrians that are causing the problems, you're not gonna
I-
reduce any accidents because you're not focusing on the problem.
Right, I guess I just have a hard time assuming it's the 150-pound person causing the problem versus the.
No, I mean,
When
two
we
tons
were-
of
I mean, hold on.
When we
if
had
you
these
had, hold on,
meetings-
if you had like an absurd scenario, like let's say for like you're in a weird city where people just feel the urge to run into the street every weekend, right, and get hit by a car. Do you think reducing the speed limit would reduce deaths in that scenario?
I mean,
It probably would.
not really. I mean, if you get hit by a truck at 20 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour, I think you're still going to the hospital.
Right, but you might be going into a grave at 60 miles per hour.
No, you didn't.
That's
20,
40.
You can go on the
20
grave
or
for the
30.
20.
20 is also going to the hospital. You might even get killed.
Yes.
It doesn't take much to
No.
to hit your head against the
The
concrete.
problem is the data
That's true.
kind of does disagree with you though, because there has been studies that show that people die significantly more from vehicles at 40 plus miles per hour compared to 25 and 30.
Right.
Well,
Right, that is objectively true.
actually, I remember reading a long time ago that most fatal accidents are within a mile from a person's home and usually at 30 miles an hour. And we're talking about vehicle to vehicle, not necessarily pedestrian, but I'm saying you don't need a lot of speed. In
No,
fact,
it's
on
not-
highways, I have a lot less accidents than city driving.
Yeah,
And
that's-
that's city driving.
Well,
A lot less stuff.
Huh?
Yeah, there's nothing to hit on the highway.
Alright, fine, but I'm just saying, going faster
Yeah.
doesn't mean you're gonna get into an accident.
Right, but it's a different environment.
I will also say,
You're not-
when we had those 3 meetings with DOT, something that I heard over and over again that really like irked me was people were basically blaming children for walking into the street and not knowing the rules of the road, which I think is not an appropriate thing. Oh, it's the pedestrian's fault. What if the pedestrian is 10?
Well, fine.
Like I've seen
But
pedestrians.
what's the pedestrian doing? A
It was
10-year-old
this
child.
was a school safety meeting and a school like
But
safe streets,
if a
safe
10
ways to get
I
to
know,
school.
but if a 10-year-old child walks into the street against traffic
Yeah,
and gets hit,
they deserve it.
no,
It's
who's
not,
at fault?
it's not that, but
I
they
think- I
can
mean,
be trained.
Children, parents have to train their kids
Yes.
not to walk.
Right, but
I wanna tell you something.
I've trained mine.
You know how my father trained me not to walk into the street?
No.
Alright? He actually told me go into the street against traffic or whatever. And when I did, he hit me. And he told me go back to the sidewalk and go into the street. And when I did, he hit me. And he was told to do that by a doctor because it's better to train your kid like that, even though it sounds cruel,
Havelock.
than
yeah.
God forbid to have the kid dead or in the hospital.
But you maybe got lucky.
No, but I
Maybe.
think the
I think
argument.
I think it's imperative on parents to teach their children not to
Yes.
run into the streets.
That is true.
Yes.
That's very good.
I'm
like,
not, I'm
city
not
training.
arguing with that, but I don't think we should hold kids crossing as the same level of responsibility as somebody that had to take a driver's test and has to like renew their license and has to follow the rules of the road. I don't think those two things are in equal agreement.
But how are you comparing? I mean,
Right,
I
you
think
can't,
I
If
think
you're,
the
if you're
argument that
driving, if you're following the rules of the road and you're driving
yes.
and a kid runs into the street, it's not, it's apples, it's apples not.
there's an urge to say it's not your fault as a driver, right? There's an
I
urge
mean,
to say
it
it's not
isn't.
your fault.
It isn't.
Right, but I also want to just impress that drivers are maneuvering, lethal multi-ton vehicles, and
As intended,
No.
right, and at the same time, I think it is important to maneuver them in a way that reduces as much as possible the instance of someone being hurt by that vehicle, regardless of whose fault it is.
No, but see, regardless of who's fault, but then you should say, okay, no cars on the road, period.
Well, we've said
So
no
the-
cars going above
I mean,
25 miles per
But all,
hour.
but all these people
Right.
that were arguing like, oh, the kids are gonna come out of a bus and get hit by a bike.
Okay, that's.
Should they look both ways then?
I mean,
Yes.
legally, that's the
Kids-
rule of the
Yes,
road.
that's what I do, I go both ways.
But we're also talking about precedent, okay? If kids are not used to doing that.
Then they have it for 2 days and then they get told by excellent parents like yourself and then it's not a problem.
Also, like, when you were a kid, you know how many fewer cars were on the road? Like, kids used to play stickball, right?
It's not that much, I mean, I don't think it's that much of a difference.
Oh, yes.
The cars on the road,
You couldn't even park overnight until 1960. There were no cars on the road. So like it is changed. Precedent. I agree with you. Precedent matters, but also like the things change. So like
Pretend you were there.
and therefore, if anything, cars
You're
are
just
slower,
working out there, I don't know.
there's more traffic.
no, I'm saying that I think kind of what Ethan was getting at was like we could debate who the fault. I don't think that's productive to necessarily preventing injuries. I want to, like, if you design the road in a certain way that makes the car go 5 miles an hour slower, then the chance of survival is so much higher.
Well, we've
Even
already-
if the kid's totally at fault.
We've already done that though.
Yeah, like I mean, I've living here. I've seen instances when people were walking across the crosswalk, and they fell, and the light turned green, and someone went, and like 7 people, including myself, had to go on the street, stop, like tell the car to stop, and we picked the guy up by his hands and legs and carried him to the sidewalk because he lost his legs couldn't moving.
Right, so it's
Right.
not
Like there are cases where someone could be just like maybe trying to jaywalk as we walked on before, and your legs might stop working. Like that shouldn't be lights out for you. You know, like the way that
Right.
cars move should at least allow some sort of grace period.
You
for
don't
to
like anyone can
survive.
make a mistake.
Well, nobody
It
wants-
doesn't have to have a lethal consequence.
Nobody wants to hit anybody because of what kind of trouble
No,
that
we
is. So, I mean, if
And
you see
probably-
somebody fall on the floor, you're gonna stop.
I think part of the reason for that argument is that most of us who drive by the law and drive well don't, we feel like there are things happening that are making your life harder as a driver, even though you're doing all the right things. But at the same time, the thing I think the idea isn't to punish drivers. It's more to just, make the design of the streets more facilitate just
I know, but the
safe,
speed,
even for
the
accidents.
speed is what? It's now 25? I mean,
Yeah.
how slow are you gonna make it?
I think that's fine. I think 10 is okay. I don't think you should go to 15 or 20. I think 10 is okay.
Well, but you only get a ticket at 36. is the problem.
Well, but that's enforcement again, you know.
Alright,
maybe every 38.
we have
but-
talked ourselves into a
Yeah.
circle.
Yeah. But I mean, this is just about the bike
This is
lane
a
feedback
discussion, we
generally.
don't have anyone to vote.
We don't need anybody in the audience. We can still talk.
We probably have like
We have
2.5
a
streamers on YouTube right now. No, but I mean, the
We didn't
bike
talk
lane
about the
feedback, I think,
FDNY. Oh,
that's
sorry.
coming up next. We're gonna
Okay.
take about 5 minutes on that, and
Sure.
we should be good. But yeah, the feedback on the bike lanes has been pretty solid. I think.
Can I put a timer on? Not to be rude. But
No, I'm not long-winded. I don't take long.
Put 5 minutes on for the rest of this discussion.
Okay, so I mean, the bike lane feedback is pretty much straightforward. I think we hit the right things when we made the changes that we made. It wouldn't make everyone happy. I think some people are relieved, some people think there should be, because bike lanes everywhere in the district. We're not gonna solve those issues. But I think we have a good enough plan where DOT wouldn't think we're essentially trying to just scout the whole plan and put it away, to
And at the same
It's never
time,
seen
we're
again.
gonna incorporate what you said about the 900.
Oh, we should
yeah.
add that.
We did,
If we're gonna
yes.
take the statistics of the survey, we have to add that as well.
Yeah, initially we did look into that, but yeah, so I think that's taken care of. But for future reference, we easily could add that survey to it.
I mean, I don't have access. Is it online? I don't even know.
I think it's online. I can probably get you a link to it.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
For which survey?
The
The
survey
one-
that was done.
Berman
the one
survey,
from
yeah.
Berman.
Where was that link posted to?
That's COL Live. Are you familiar with that?
Do you need to be a member to view it?
No.
Okay.
COL Live is open to the public.
Okay.
Nice.
Not to have.
I don't know about the results though. I haven't seen them. I mean, I've heard about the results. I haven't actually.
I can probably
We'd
find a
love
link
to
to
see the
that.
results.
Yeah.
I can find a link
Me
to
too.
that. Maybe after. But yeah, Berman is just a survey in the area, right? But yeah, so the next thing is the FDNY sidewalk usage. So I was updated by Dante that FDNY hasn't moved. They haven't made any visible moves on that. On the requests to have the parking lines and little end blocks for the pedestrian walkway, but they're currently waiting on DOT to see if they will kind of give them a grant to install those. So there is movement happening. It's just not.
Waiting on DOT.
A grant to give them for what?
They're waiting. Essentially, they're waiting to see if DOT will help them install these stuff. Secondly, about the lines, I was also updated that the city no longer makes those sidewalk parking lines. They don't draw those out anymore. They're out of the business of doing that.
Illegal.
Well, right.
Right. But they're
I think it's
also
always been illegal.
but they're also waiting to see if the city can grant them that I guess ability, so they can just not necessarily the ability, but they're waiting for the city to do it for them and sort that out so that they can do it. So they're trying to implement it, and they're waiting on feedback on implementation from the city and from DOT.
So, very clear. I missed something. So DOT is giving them a grant to see if they can do what exactly?
For personal vehicles on the sidewalk.
If I recall correctly, yes, and have the little, I'm not sure what they're called.
Like the
the
like the concrete
blocks that
like to prevent them from
prevent
going
your
too
car
far
from going
back
further in.
onto the sidewalk.
They're little end caps, as you see in parking lots.
Do we know if this is likely to happen?
I think it's like, it's 7 out of 10 or 6 out of 10 chance.
Okay. Well, what makes you say that? Because it is blatantly illegal. I know it's. I mean, I don't know. if anyone
Honestly,
would do anything about it, but it is illegal.
it's
So
my remaining faith in humanity for one, and two, the fact that it's a common sense move, considering that the alternative is to have cars that could just go straight back and hit a person.
Right.
And the other seeming fact that yes, it's illegal, but this is for a fire department, and fire departments and police.
but it's not for a
seem
fire
to-
department. Because the accounting firm does it, the shipping place does it, some of the the
Right.
owners of
Well,
the
they're
cafe.
also waiting for DOT to grant them the FDNY parking only for the other side of the sidewalk as well on those blocks. They
There's a driveway
requested for that. Huh?
Is there a driveway?
There's a driveway. There's 2 driveways, but there's I think 8 spots or something on the other.
Right. So they're also requesting that, and it would be cool if they get both because they can park some vehicles there and they can take up less of the block sidewalk.
Do both of those actions need this DOT grant?
I think the grant is for the latter.
The granite boulders or the
No,
across the street?
Across the street, FDNR restriction.
Okay. Yeah, seems odd.
It is that,
Because it's,
but I'm not sure how.
it's the
how
city's
it works.
parking anyway. It's the city's asphalt.
Yeah. Sounds like
So
one
why
of
would
the
they use boulders? Why wouldn't they use some sort of protective barrier?
But then boulders, they're just.
Wait, boulders at the corners? Is that what you're
No,
I missed what
I
you
think
said,
Felice is
though.
referring to the stoppers, the.
Oh.
They're not, I mean, they're not really boulders, they use them in parking lots all the time.
Yeah.
They're just a little, like, I'm not
Like
sure
a
what
line.
shape it is. I have
It's
to
just a
ask the-
rectangle.
The rectangles that,
Yeah.
essentially like a horizontal baller that you just put there so the car can't come back.
And
Yeah.
Oh,
The stop bar
the-
things.
The
And
stop bars,
also-
yeah, whatever they're
I
called.
don't know what they're
Protects
called.
the pedestrians as well?
The
Just they're like every,
ends, like the things that
what do you call those?
you split your front wheels.
Yeah.
Oh, we're just trying to have the name of one. Yeah, I can look. But yeah, they're waiting on that. And actually,
A
So
parking
then
bumper.
Huh?
Parking bumper.
Oh, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, those.
So they want to put the bumper on the sidewalk.
On the sidewalk so that way
Yeah.
the cars won't go.
To kind of
too far back.
reserve pedestrian space.
They would keep it
Reserve
safe.
pedestrian space, make a tripping hazard.
It'll be like.
It'll be in the middle of the sidewalk. Well, halfway in the middle of the sidewalk.
Yeah, like if a car is not parked there, then it's a huge tripping hazard.
Yeah.
I think it's a tricky
odd-
situation.
It's an odd proposal.
Yeah, I think there's a
It
huge
is.
liability for them.
I mean,
on
the
that.
entire having cars parked on the sidewalk in itself is wow.
These are
You wanna
very
see
low. Okay, when it
Yeah.
said boulders,
Yeah,
I thought they were.
No, they're
No,
I
I
just saw
heard
those.
bollard. I was
Yeah, I
thinking.
thought it was gonna be like 3 feet high, so.
No,
No.
sorry, I said a horizontal. I said a horizontal dollar.
A stop bar.
That's
yeah.
what I thought.
Those
Yeah.
bumpers, you're easily.
So they're waiting on those things. And we have a letter, an email here from a lieutenant at the fire department who's bringing up a different issue. And the issue that's being brought up is they've had instances where emergency vehicles have not been able to get down certain streets, delaying response times.
Do what?
Due to double parking.
Not the bikes.
Alternate side parking
Enforcement.
on street parking days and cars parked in bicycle lanes apparently. Maple Street being one of the culprits. This is interesting because it could potentially kind of strike out that argument from people who don't want bike lanes on their blocks so they can double park and essentially having complaints about FGNY not getting people.
Should they give numbers to this?
Do they what?
Should they give any numbers to this? Like, this happened 6 out of 7 days, or we've lost 800 hours of firefighting time to this.
They said
Or
that.
did it happen once and piss somebody off?
So that I think this is Tuesday. Last Tuesday when I'm
Okay, so
seeing,
it's an anecdote.
they said that they had 2 calls just that morning when they were blocked in and had to back out of the block because of
Oh,
double
that's
block cars.
dangerous.
Oh.
Yeah.
One call was for a fire, and the other was for a person in cardiac arrest, where they had to end up doing CPR, and they were severely delayed to both calls.
Because of double parking.
Double park cars. So
Maple's not that wide
But people double park on it for street cleaning.
right.
though.
So did they give a request or recommendation to this?
No, they're asking us to help remedy the issue.
But I mean, don't allow double parking during street cleaning would be the answer, but that would piss off everyone on Maple.
And everyone in the
Because
city.
they own homes there.
Now, what the ask here is they're saying, if citizens are to be allowed to double park on alternate side of the street days, then they need to be made aware that they have to block the bike lane so that they don't be parked in the middle of the street. So apparently the engine can pass, the fire truck can pass if
Right.
the car is sufficiently parked enough on the side, which.
This is just one agency fighting another because people will. I know on my block, people have been parking double parking for street cleaning and blocking the bike lane And then sometimes, with no rhyme or reason, it seems, not consistently, they would then get a ticket for blocking the bike lane. And so then they started parking outside of the bike lane, so the bike lane was still clear. So that's probably what they're doing on Maple, but then that's
There's some people
that's
do it
3
in the
feet
bike
narrow.
lane, some
Right.
people
Some
do.
people, right.
No,
Yeah,
it's
different
typically best practice to park on the side where the bike lane is not present.
I know, but if street cleaning
If
is
it's
on the
street
other.
cleaning, You gotta wanna avoid the street food stuff, yeah.
So
mean-
this is on FDNY letterhead that people should park in the bike lane twice a week.
I don't wanna say up there, but it is from someone who works
Right.
there.
Love it.
Right. And it's an interesting thing, because it also presents an argument against bike lanes on residential streets.
Every street's residents. People live everywhere.
That's true. But I mean, residential only. Like that.
Well,
I mean, the corners
use
of Fenimore have businesses, so.
I use the Lincoln Maple all the time, and that's my car. My version of the car is a little two-wheeled.
So this is here we go with the community. We have to make some consensus here where we would have where the 2 days that the cars have to be on that side, that should be permissible instead of giving people tickets.
I think so.
Because it's only for 2 days.
Yes, it should be clarified.
I guess
Yes.
they should be able to park in the bike lane
Yes.
and do it, because we do need FDNY passing through streets.
Well, it's who's giving the tickets? It's not DOT. It's
No, it's NYPD.
NYPD.
Okay. So
Yeah,
we'll-
DOT has no enforcement on
We'll probably need to move everybody in.
So get it till
Gotta tell the
71st.
That's,
You should all know.
huh?
it.
I'm sorry,
The
71st?
They're the ones giving those tickets.
Do they give moving
Or what is
violation
it?
tickets?
I thought that was traffic.
Do they? You don't have the traffic bureau
Could
there?
be- it could be both, I think. I know maybe
I thought it
if
was
you
a
could
Does
traffic.
somebody first hand our tickets, or is it just
I know
traffic?
I
it's-
think, I
assume
think it would be
traffic.
traffic, yes.
Traffic. I thought it was transit was the other one that we had in the districts.
Yeah, but they're not over
There we
there.
go.
Transit wouldn't give out
I think
those
Transit's
tickets.
on Transit.
Yeah, transit wouldn't give out those
Yeah.
tickets. Those would either be my thinking, and I might be wrong, my thinking is it's either the 71st or traffic, so like general traffic division that's not associated necessarily with precinct. But I know if there's like 311 reports that go to the precinct, then the precinct might respond, and they're also allowed to give tickets for anything.
I can ask.
It'd
Okay,
be interesting to hear what they say.
yeah, that works.
On just this street, just
Just-
for
Just for me.
alternate side. There are tickets.
I don't know what ticket that. I didn't mention tickets. I don't know who mentioned tickets, but it wasn't me. I think it was.
No, right, but you were saying that, well, that letter is suggesting that they should park in the bike lane.
Yes.
And people are currently not parking in the bike lane to avoid getting a ticket.
Right. That's what I'm assuming.
Yes. So
We
avoid to get a ticket because that side is to clean the street, but just to get a ticket on the other side because it's in the bike lane.
It's a cheaper ticket too, for
Right,
street
and-
cleaning.
And I don't think anybody wants any points, you know, or
It's
pay
not
any,
points for
I'm
either.
sorry, or pay any price for it.
Right, so I think it's a
We just-
$60 ticket versus a $115 ticket.
We can discreetly tell the people on Maple that they should park in the bike lane during
Just
alternate
that-
side park.
Yeah.
But this
An
is
hour and a
the
half.
only street where they have issue.
No, this is just the only street they mentioned. It says one of the culprits. There are more, and it's pretty. I mean, people.
I think they're also-
People shouldn't park in the middle of the street
Yeah.
at any point in time.
People shouldn't double park, people shouldn't triple park, people shouldn't unload groceries for 45
Right, but
minutes.
only
Like,
one of those things stops FDNY from coming down streets.
well, like if somebody is unloading groceries and they're like, I'll just be a minute, and they just leave the car running.
But where are they parked?
On my street, they're not in the bike lane, they're just in the street sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
people are not logical. Like, we're not gonna get logic out of this.
Okay, all right. You know.
So the only logical thing,
I'm talking about on Lincoln. I see delivery drivers, like the Amazon guys, plop it in there and do like 6 apartments in a row. And they just leave it for like 30
But
minutes.
there's a thing called Little Park.
On the side, right? They're not like
They're,
in the middle.
they're
of
like
the
in the middle.
But they're not adjacent to parked cars?
No, there's a bike lane and then they're in the traffic lane.
Oh, so they don't wanna block the bike lane, so
Yes.
that's why they're in the middle.
All right.
Because
So,
if they block the bike lane, they can get a ticket.
all right. So yeah, we should. This
Well,
should.
what else are they supposed to do?
I don't want them to block the bike lane. I live there, but I also want my package.
I feel like.
There should be loading zones.
There should be loading zones.
I feel like
I
this should also.
say I obey.
I feel like that should also be a thing. FDNY could just tell NYPD, hey guys,
Yeah,
we
They're
need to-
asking
we
us to
need
do-
Every block does have a loading zone.
Where?
Hydrants.
Those are already taken most of the time
By what?
by parked cars.
They say no.
It's
I actually think loading's I'd be curious FDNY's take on that, like, hydrants,
Yeah.
Why not? It's temporary.
right,
Like no one
Did
loads
you
their.
know that you're not supposed to park within 15 feet on either side?
Yes, right.
in theory, yes.
I've never once seen 15 feet clear on both sides of a hydrant.
It's like one half a car. Like on both sides.
No, 15 feet is
15.
most of a car. A space for a parking space is 19 feet. So 15 feet clear is one car on one side of the hydrant, and one car on the other side of the hydrant.
Well, it's 70% one car, but yeah.
It's 90% of one car. But
The truth of the matter, I don't even see why they need that, because, I mean, if you park in front of a hydrant and they need that, they'll just put the
Right,
hose right
that's
through your
our response to
window
FDNY.
anyway.
It's like, we understand your point. However, we want to park in the fire hydrant.
That's
No,
crazy.
The loading, I think it's interesting. FDNY can tell NYPD. All right.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good at
No,
it.
we're done.
No, but
No.
So FDNY is
That's
having
the
issues on certain streets, one of them being Maple.
Yes.
Double parking is the culprit, sometimes there's bike lane involved, sometimes there's not, but they're having trouble on certain streets in our
Because they
district.
can't pass.
But, right, but what are they asking us to do?
Well, they're asking for our help. Basically, the idea that they laid out was that if civilians are allowed to double park, if they're gonna double park on alternate side days, they should be made aware that they have to block the bike lane to not be parked in the middle of the street. That's it. Just park and leave enough space for a fire truck to pass by.
But, so I think, I understand their need, and like, I mean, I've called for the fire department before, like, I want them to be able to get wherever they need to go. I think they're also putting us in a very awkward spot, like, we cannot, like, it is terrible press if it gets out that the transportation committee is recommending to do something that's also, like, to block a bike lane. Or,
Well, I think that we have to make that concession, and it's only for maybe an hour, for that period of cleaning,
It's like an hour and a half.
and that's it.
I agree, but I don't think we should do anything on our letterhead or anything like that. Like that
Okay.
just is I think that's a slippery slope.
Okay. Well,
But
that's,
yeah,
that's fair.
Discreetly tell the people.
Right.
Oh my god, we're live stream.
People at Maple.
But
This is all on the
they're
record.
getting tickets, so then now we have to find out, why would you give them a ticket for that hour and a half period?
Right.
Right.
So,
Like, where else are they going to?
Any street with the same situation is gonna have the same problem, right?
or any street that needs a fire service would be anything that could be on fire at any time.
But, no, I'm talking about any street that's narrow and has a bike lane is gonna have the same problem.
It doesn't need to have a
The,
bike.
the,
Yeah,
the
the-
problem is not the bike lane, the problem is
Right.
where people are parking.
Right.
They're parking like, I assume they're not parking the bike lane at all.
But they're talking
But-
about
You're
during
talking about
street
alternate
cleaning.
street
You're
cleaning.
talking about during street
Right.
cleaning, they
Yeah.
have to
Let's
park
be-
on the bike lane, so.
Right.
That's all it
But
is.
any street that has the same dimensions is gonna have the same problem.
Right.
So why are we only restricting it to Maple? I think.
No, we're not saying, we're saying all of them.
I think that should be a general rule, to say during street cleaning and double parking, you can park in the bike lane, I think it's normal.
Yeah.
I think that's what happens a lot of times.
Right,
Legally, that doesn't. And if that was made as like a legal thing, that opens
well, double
this-
parking is illegal even during street sweeping, it's just the city doesn't give you tickets.
right, but like it's not on paper.
You're not gonna find it written down that you should do that.
Yeah.
Right, but again,
Well,
because
something
it's
needs to-
impossible otherwise,
Yeah, but I mean, some things are legal, some things are common sense and just are just going to happen.
Yeah.
You know? Like it's illegal, I believe it was illegal in the state to talk in an elevator. Unrealistic, it's going to happen.
So it sounds like we should have a conversation, like a common sense conversation with NYPD.
Yes.
Right, because we
Or-
want to
or-
avoid tickets.
Yeah.
We also want to avoid folks dying from cardiac arrest.
Right.
Right.
Yes, that's the.
We love to avoid
So,
that.
so here it is, we making sense of things. We all agree, yes?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we don't have quorum, so it's just.
No, we're just talking,
Yeah,
yes.
we agree on that.
And these are not voting items, this is
No,
like,
these are not.
we should
Yeah.
just reach out to them.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
But it sounds like.
That's the whole agenda, by the way, guys.
Wait, but the other part of their letter, or before the letter, the item that was on the agenda
Yeah.
of the parking there, it sounds like they're waiting for DOT and City Hall to give
Yeah.
them some action.
Yes.
My take is that's nonsense.
Okay.
Like that's
It's a delay.
that's just pointing fingers.
Okay.
So I think nothing will happen until something maybe terrible happens.
Okay.
So
That's fair.
I'm always puzzled when they go through the gestures. Like there was, what, 5 or 6 high-level people at that meeting that we had?
Yeah.
Like, why'd they waste our time?
Huh?
Why'd they waste my time? And your time, and Dante's time, and their own time?
Well, one, we asked for it.
Uh,
That's one
we
reason
asked for
why.
some solution, but if it was like, we're gonna pretend.
No, we got a solution. It's in progress. It's just stalled.
Yeah, I don't,
You know?
I'm skeptical of that.
That's fair. I get it. And I mean, it's not always just to get it done. I mean, again,
Because like,
there is,
I
think we do have to get the urgency behind it, and we can do that again through press, through other means. But
yeah,
if go ahead.
But I don't know. I've known some firefighters before and some a captain many years ago, but like I'm assuming, and maybe you know from the precinct, maybe it's a similar thing. Like the captain of a precinct or a station, like what they say goes. Yes, they have a boss, and everyone's got a boss, but like they're in charge of that. That if their guys, if they tell the guys don't park here or change it or do something, like guys respond. There's a chain of command, and there are rules in place. That it sounds like the captain there just didn't want to do anything or wanted to wait for someone else to give him a command. So like, it doesn't feel like it actually came that they came to that in good faith.
Well, we're asking for 2 non-standard things,
Well,
I
the
wouldn't
standard thing
assume-
is not parking on a sidewalk.
which they indeed. Right,
Right,
but
like-
we're not even starting from that point.
I know. So we've already like given them a lot of grace to like.
Right, so we're being asking for 2
The
non.
complaints were safety issues or motion, or the businesses were complaining about it being inconvenienced by police.
Well, no, the businesses were using the spots.
They were using
They were
the
using the sidewalk too, but it was mostly safety. People are upset about the fact that it's the line of sight when you're making the turns a problem. They're upset about people backing in on pedestrians and that being an issue.
And leaving less than like the ADA minimum clear walking distance.
Alright.
So
And it gets pretty bad when you combine that with the PLG little build out that
Yeah.
used to be there, or if it is still there.
which is their right.
That's their
a sidewalk-
building line.
A sidewalk cafe, and they are allowed to be there.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not really compatible
It's
with
not,
that either.
it's not like a street shed. They are allowed to do that
Right.
there
Right.
full time.
I'll acknowledge. I mean, I think it's a tricky situation. A lot of things in play,
Yeah.
but it does.
Do we know what other firehouses are across the city do? They have the same problem? They have parking.
Some of them do the
Some do.
same thing. Most of fire and police mostly do combat parking where they park facing the street so they can just pull out. I believe.
But the
a lot
point
of
of
sorry.
well, my understanding is the point of combat parking very much for the police vehicles when like combat
the
like
fleet vehicles.
the fleet vehicles, of course. Like if you have to go to an emergency, drive as fast as you have to safely, but like get there.
So not perpendicular to our parking, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But
But like
with the butt.
just to
Nice things. That's it.
One person's watching.
Oh, nice.
we solved everything.
Yeah, so it is 9. Do we have any other urgent matters, any new business you want to bring?
Not for new business, but it sounds like a lot of what we're talking about for some of the potential future things is revolving around bus planning and bus operations and where we think buses should be. Last year, we also talked about our response to the Brooklyn bus redesign. Is it time to talk about buses again? Please, next term.
Next time, I mean, we still have a packed agenda because the bike lane stuff just took up so much time. Oh, yeah, we can bring that in.
Because it sounds like the Lincoln Road and in addition to Washington and our unresolved issues with the Brooklyn bus redesign, we should try to have a real conversation about this. And you recently did a Flatbush bus report.
Yeah, I advised on that, yeah.
We should have a map with the bus lines, huh?
It's on here.
It's on there?
This
It's
one's
the
on.
light blue. But I'm just saying,
Yeah,
like,
go
we've
for
sort
it.
of danced around this for a better
If
part
you want
of
to
the
sit
year.
here,
We've been
again,
talking about
it faces all of us.
We've been talking about bikes
If you wanna
versus
talk.
cars for a very
Yeah,
long
if you want
time.
to
We
sit in
should
that
talk
chair,
about
man,
buses.
you can face all of us.
Buses versus everything. But like,
Yeah, we're gonna
this
go
is just
in
for
there.
the.
Yeah, we just.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I want to put this into the inject it for next time.
Yeah. No,
I think-
right? Nope. Okay, down to the we're done. Adjourned.
Thank you.
How's it?